Hey Mets fans, Brian here at Mets Mayhem. The New York Mets and the St. Louis Cardinals played their fourth and final game of this four-game series at Citi Field on Sunday afternoon. Happy Easter to everyone who celebrates, and to those who don't, happy Sunday regardless. And it was a happy Sunday indeed, as our New York Mets took Game 4 to complete the series sweep of the St. Louis Cardinals. For the Mets, Clay Holmes took the mound, going up against the Cardinals' Sonny Gray. Now on for the game recap. Let's hop to it. Clay Holmes on the mound looking to get deeper in the game this time around. The rotation in general has been talking about challenging each other to get deeper in the game to preserve the bullpen. So we have Lars Nootbaar leading off for the Cardinals, and Holmes starts this game off by walking on 4 straight balls. Not exactly the start the Mets or Holmes were looking for. Thomas Sagasi now at the plate, runner at first, no one out. Holmes gets ahead of him 1-2 before getting him to hit a ground ball to Beatty at third. Tosses over to Acuna at second base, and that forces out Nootbaar for the first out. So Brendan Donovan now comes to the plate. We have runner on first and one out, and he lines a 1-1 changeup to Taylor in center field for the second out. Willson Contreras playing DH in this game and batting cleanup. He jumps on the first pitch he sees, an 85-mile-an-hour slider up on the outside corner. He lines it to center field for a base hit. Now we have runners on first and second, 2 outs. That brings up Alec Burleson. And Holmes gets Burleson to expand the zone by chasing a 2-2 cutter up and away out of the strike zone for the third out. The Cardinals had Holmes on the ropes a little, but they couldn't cash in. Sonny Gray on the mound for the Cardinals, and he faces Francisco Lindor leading off for the Mets. Gray falls behind 2-1 before leaving a fastball over the heart of the plate and up some, and Lindor jumps all over it and deposits it into right field. Home run, leadoff home run, Lindor's third home run of the season, 22nd career leadoff home run, second of the season. Mets 1, Cardinals nothing. So Gray bounced back though, and he struck out Soto looking at a 1-2 sweeper that just nicked the strike zone down and in for the first out. Pete Alonso up, he grounds a 2-2 sweeper down and away, kind of out of the zone a little bit, right to Burleson at first base. That's 2 outs. And then Brandon Nimmo batting cleanup again. 2 on, no outs. Nimmo falls behind 0-2 before hitting one right back to Gray, who tosses over to Burleson at first, and that puts an end to the first inning. At the top of the second inning, Holmes settled in and retired the Cardinals in order. Jordan Walker was called out on strikes on a 2-2 sinker that caught the outside half of the plate. After setting Jordan Walker up with back-to-back sliders that broke down and away, Holmes threw a 2-2 sinker that just broke down and stayed in the strike zone, catching him looking. Then we have Nolan Gorman flew out to Nimmo in left field for the second out. And then Pedro Pages hit a ground ball to Beatty at third base. Jesse Winker leads off in the bottom of the second inning, and Sonny Gray made quick work of him, getting him looking at strike 3 belt high over the middle of the plate for the first out. Luis Angel Acuna playing second base in this game hits a line drive to right field. Jordan Walker ran in on, slid, made the catch, robbing him of a hit. Brett Beatty batting after Acuna, getting the start with Vientos taking the day off after getting pulled from the game with groin discomfort. And Gray got ahead of Beatty 0-2 before Beatty pulled an 80-mile-an-hour curveball right to Burleson at first base for the third out. Clay Holmes gets another 1-2-3 inning at the top of the third inning. Victor Scott II flied out to Taylor in center field for the first out. Lars Nootbaar grounded out to Acuna at second. And then Thomas Sagasi grounds out to Lindor at shortstop for the third out. Tyrone Taylor leading off the bottom of the third inning for the Mets. And Sonny Gray still on the mound for the Cardinals. And Taylor grounds a base hit up the middle. So now we have a runner on first, nobody out. Hayden Sanger up. He's catching this game. He chases a 2-2 slider down and in. Strikes out for the first out of the inning. That brings us to the top of the lineup. Francisco Lindor. Lindor lines a base hit to right field. Taylor advances to third base. First and third. Juan Soto at the plate. Soto then hits a sac fly to left field. Taylor tags up and scores. Soto's bat breaks. He'll gladly trade in the broken bat for an RBI. Now we have Pete Alonso up, 2 outs, and Gray gets him to pop up to Burleson at first base for the third out. Going into the top of the fourth inning, Holmes now staked to a 2-0 lead. Brendan Donovan leading off for the Cardinals, and he strikes out at a 1-2 change. It's on the outside corner for the first out. Wilson Contreras then comes up. He hits the second base hit of the game. Alex Burleson follows. He singles on a ground ball to left field. First and second, one out. Cardinals have a big opportunity here to get something going. Jordan Walker at the plate, and Holmes strikes him out on a 1-2 sweeper down and away. We got 2 outs now. Nolan Gorman's coming to the plate, and Holmes gets Gorman to fly out to Taylor in center field to end the inning. So the Cardinals had 2 runners on, 1 out. The Mets came away without giving up a run. Holmes is living dangerous so far, but he hasn't been burned. Sonny Gray is still going on the mound for the Cardinals here in the bottom of the fourth inning, and the first batter up is Brandon Nimmo. And Sonny starts him with a first pitch fastball for a strike. Brandon Nimmo had been trying to be more aggressive and not take these first pitch strikes. This is a pitch he probably could have done damage with. Unfortunately, he let this one pass. He gets ahead in the count 2-1, but then he ends up grounding out to second base, hitting the ball to Brendan Donovan for the first out. Then Jesse Winker follows, and he strikes out for the second out of the inning. So 2 outs. Luis Angel Acuna up. He's trying to do everything in his power to convince the Mets to not send him down when McNeil returns. He lands a single to left field in front of Nootbaar. Now we got a base hit. Brett Beatty up. Same situation. Beatty's trying to establish himself as a major leaguer. And he reaches first on an offensive catcher's interference call on Pages. So now runners on first and second. 2 outs. Tyrone Taylor up. And Taylor pops up weakly on a 1-2 pitch from Gray with 2 outs. And that'll be the third out of the inning. To the top of the fifth inning we go, and Pedro Pages leads off against Clay Holmes, and Holmes walks him on a 3-2 pitch. The Cardinals now have a runner on first, no one out. And Victor Scott II comes to the plate, and he strikes out on a 3-2 changeup off the plate for the first out of the inning. Now Thomas Sagasi is up next, and he hits a ground ball right to Lindor, who tosses over to Acuna covering second, who then fires over to Alonso at first to complete the 6-4-3 double play, and that's the end of the top of the fifth inning. Hayden Singer leading off the bottom of the fifth inning, and Hayden lines out to Victor Scott II for the first out. Francisco Lindor comes to the plate, and Gray's able to strike him out on a 2-2 sweeper that Lindor swung right over for the second out. 2 quick outs, brings up Juan Soto, and Soto hits a ground ball to the right side for a base hit. Pete Alonso now up, and Gray throws a wild pitch. Soto moves to second base. Alonso then rips a line drive to center field that drives in Soto. Brandon Nimmo then comes up. He strikes out a 3-2 sweeper at the top of the zone, and that ends the fifth inning. Top of the sixth inning we go. The Mets are up 3-0. Holmes facing Brendan Donovan, leading off for the Cardinals, and Donovan pulls a double to right field to put a runner on second and no one out. Wilson Contreras then comes up. He strikes out looking at a 3-2 pitch. The Mets and Holmes got a break there. That call was down and away. Off the plate. The Mets got the call. We'll take it. So now we have 1 out. Runner at second. Alec Burleson up. During the at-bat, Holmes throws a wild pitch. Donovan advances to third base. And then Burleson pulls a ground ball right to Acuna. Acuna fields it. Throws to Alonso for the second out. On the play, Donovan scores. So now Jordan Walker up. And he drives one deep to left field. Nimmo went back, gets to the track at the wall, he leaps and catches the ball. Fantastic play from Nimmo, and that ends the top of the sixth. In the bottom of the sixth, Sonny Gray still on the mound for the Cardinals. Jesse Winker leads off, and he draws a 3-2 walk. Luis Angel Acuna now up, and Winker steals second. His second stolen base of the season. It's getting contagious. Acuna starts stealing some bases, everybody else wants to steal some bases. So now Acuna up. Gray gets him to ground out to Burleson at first for the first out, but that advances Winker to third base. So the Mets have Winker on third, 1 out. Brett Beatty up. Great opportunity for Beatty to add to this Mets lead and continue to build a case to stay on this roster. Unfortunately, he pops up a 1-1 sweeper in foul territory. Catcher Pedro Pages makes the play. 2 outs. Winker still at third base. Beatty is visibly annoyed. Not bad, good. I want to see some emotion from him. He knows he should have cashed in an RBI here. He didn't get the job done. move on to the next at bat. So Tyrone Taylor is now up. Gray gets him to fly out on a 1-2 pitch to Walker in right field. Side retired. The Mets don't score. Gray's able to get out of trouble again in the bottom of the 6th inning. Danny Young comes in the game for the Mets in release of Clay Holmes. Holmes went 6 innings. Good start for him. First one this year that he didn't get pulled in the middle of an inning because he was in trouble. So Young starts off the inning by giving up a leadoff single to Nolan Gorman. Cardinals now have the leadoff batter on. They're trailing 3-1, top of the 7th, no outs. Pedro Pajes gets caught looking at an outside sweeper. Looks like the Mets might have got lucky on that call as well. First out. So you got a runner on first, 1 out. With Young being a lefty, the Cardinals pinch hit for Victor Scott II. They bring in Luke Baker. Young walks Baker on a 3-2 pitch. He stayed low on him the entire at bat. Needs to get the pitches up just a little bit more. Now the Cardinals have first and second, 1 out. That brings up Lars Nootbaar. Michael Ciani comes on as a pinch runner for Baker. And Young is able to bounce back, and he strikes out Nootbaar on 3 straight pitches. So now with Thomas Sagasi due up, the Mets decide to go to the bullpen. And they bring on Jose Butto in relief of Danny Young. And Sagasi rips the very first pitch he sees from Butto to left field for a double. That drives home Gorman. That drives home Ciani. 2 RBI double for Sagasi. The Cardinals now tied this game at 3-3. Brendan Donovan then taps a 2-1 changeup right in front of the plate. Senga pops up, fields it, fires to Alonso, and that's the end of the top of the 7th. The Cardinals go to their bullpen in the bottom of the 7th inning. They bring on the lefty Jojo Romero, and his job is to face Senga, turn Lindor around to bat righty, and then face Soto. And he starts off pretty good. He strikes out Senga on a changeup away in the dirt. That's 1 out. Francisco Lindor then takes a first pitch strike, and then he gets a base hit right in front of the plate to put runners on first with 1 out for Juan Soto. Soto walks on a 3-1 pitch. So Romero brought on specifically really to get Lindor and Soto. He fails on both accounts. The Cardinals go to the bullpen. Phil Maton comes on relief for Romero, and Maton's job is to face Pete Alonso. Alonso works the count full, but Maton gets Alonso to swing through a cutter up and away, strikes him out for the 2nd out. Now Brandon Nimmo comes to bat, and Brandon grounds the ball right up the middle, just out of the reach of a diving Sagasi, scores Lindor. Soto advances to 3rd. Maton then gets Winker looking at a 2-2 cutter for the 3rd out. So we go to the top of the 8th inning. Butto's still on the mound for the Mets. 1 inning after Brandon Nimmo robbed the Cardinals of a home run at the top of the 7th. And he drove in the go-ahead run at the bottom. So Butto gets the Cardinals in order. 3 up, 3 down. Wilson Contreras grounded out to Lindor for the 1st out. Burleson struck out on a 2-2 change. And then Jordan Walker expanded the zone and swung at a 1-2 fastball up and away. Out of the strike zone. That was the 3rd out. Ryan Fernandez now on the mound for the Cardinals in the bottom of the 8th inning, and he faces Luis Angel Acuna leading off for the Mets. And Acuna hits a slow chopper. Both Sagasi at shortstop and Gorman at 3rd are charging. Gorman cuts in front of Sagasi. He tries to barehand it, doesn't get a good grip on it. It deflects off of his hand, shoots past Sagasi into kind of deep shortstop, shallow left field. Acuna legs out a double. Speed kills, baby. Brett Beatty up. No 1 out, runner at 2nd base, a chance to get an RBI, add to the Mets lead, but he strikes out on a 3-2 pitch. That's the 1st out of the inning. Tyrone Taylor now up, and he's been heating up lately, and it's been coinciding with his increase in playing time. And he hits a low line over 1st base, over Contreras' head, shallow right field. Acuna scores, Taylor legs out a double of his own. And now we have Luis Torrens pinch hitting for Hayden Senga. He draws a 4-pitch walk. Now we have runners on 1st and 2nd, 1 out. That brings up Francisco Lindor. A day after, Fernandez giving up a walk-off home run to Lindor. This time he gets Lindor to ground out into fielder's choice. He hits a ground ball to Sagasi, who tosses over to Donovan at 2nd. That forces Torrens out. So now we got runners on 1st and 3rd, 2 outs. Juan Soto up. And Soto lines a 2-2 slider just off the plate. He takes it the other way into left center field gap. 2-run double, drives in Taylor, drives in Lindor, gives the Mets a 7-3 lead. And then Fernandez got Alonso up next, flying out to Jordan Walker on the first pitch, but the damage has been done. So here we go, top of the ninth inning. Mets are up 7-3. Big hit by Soto on the bottom of the eighth. Those extra runs were huge for the Mets. The Mets had 3 runs in the bottom of the eighth inning. They extend their lead from 4-3 to 7-3. Ryan Stanek on the mound. Non-safe situation. Less pressure right now. The Mets have breathing room. And Stanek gets Nolan Gorman to hit to Tyrone Taylor on a 1-0 fastball. First out. He lined out to Taylor. Pedro Pajes now chases the high fastball. And he pops up to Lindor. 2 quick outs. Michael Ciani, who came on as a pinch runner in the top of the 7th inning for Lucan Baker, gets his first at bat. He hits a single to right field. So now the Cardinals have a runner on first. 2 outs. Lars Nootbaar is now at the plate. And the Mets pay no mind to Ciani. He takes second base, defensive indifference. And then Lars follows that with a 3-1 line drive to right field. That scores Ciani. So again, those extra runs were huge. It's now a 7-4 game. And now we have Thomas Saggese at the plate. And Stanek gets ahead of him 1-2 before he fouls 2 pitches back. And then Stanek strikes him out. Ends the game. Mets win. They move to 15-7. They sweep the St. Louis Cardinals. They drop them to 9-13. So Thomas Saggese up. 2 outs. Runner on first. Stanek gets ahead of him 1-2. Foul ball. Foul ball. Strike 3. Got him on a slider. That's the game, folks. Let's go. So takeaways from this game. The Mets win. That's pretty clear. They sweep the Cardinals. They move to 15-7. The Cardinals drop to 9-13. The first time the Mets have swept the Cardinals in a 4-game series since 1986. We know what happened then. Not saying anything, but we know what happened then. So the Mets, they sweep the Cardinals. The Mets mayhem player of the game will have to go with Juan Soto. Soto was 2 for 3. He drew a walk. He scored a run, drove in 3 runs, including a big 2-out double to push their lead from 5-3 to 7-3 late. Gave them extra breathing room. Clay Holmes pitched great. He went 6 strong innings. The first time he was able to finish without getting pulled in the midst of trouble. He allowed 1 earned run on 4 hits. He walked 2, and he struck out 6. He should have been in line for the win. Danny Young came on in relief for the 7th inning. Danny Young got pulled, left 2 runners on base for Budo. Budo's been having a problem this year with allowing inherited runners to score, and he allowed both inherited runners to score. In fact, on the first pitch Budo pitched was a double, and those runs scored. However, when it comes to clean innings, Budo has been great so far. So he went an inning and a third. Francisco Lindor led off the game with his 22nd career leadoff home run, his 2nd this year. He finished 3 for 5. He had 3 runs scored. He had an RBI. His average is now up to 271 after the slow start. Brandon Nimmo robbed a home run in the top half, and then he drove in what should have been the go-ahead run in the bottom half of the 7th inning. Luis Angel Acuna went 2 for 4 with a run scored. Tyrone Taylor, who's starting to heat up, went 2 for 4, 2 runs scored, and he had an RBI, a big RBI again. Budo picked up the win, despite allowing the 2 inherited runners to score. Ryan Stanek came on in the 9th. He allowed his first run of the season. 2 hits he gave up, but he closed the door, striking out Thomas Saggese to end the game. The Mets are now 15-7, 2 games up on the 13-9 Phillies, and those very Phillies are coming into Citi Field beginning Monday evening for a 3-game set starting at 7:10 p.m. Eastern. Tyler McGill takes the mound for the Mets. He's looking to pick up his 3rd win of the season. For the Phillies, they have Aaron Nola going for them. He's 0-4. He's looking for his 1st win of the season. The Mets will be looking to make an early statement, put some distance between them and the Phillies. I'll be back to recap the game and provide any other noteworthy Mets news. But until then, Mets fans, let's go Mets.